everyone, welcome back, it's Tara. We are hitting my pet peeves about New York City apartments because there's quite a few that seem to be the norm here and that I kind of can't wrap my head around. A few cities that I've lived in, something has become very apparent to me, and that is that definitely in bigger cities and heavily populated cities, the stuff that you find, or lack thereof, in some of the apartments, like the quirks are real, you guys. Quirks are real. If a lot of you guys also live in sort of like densely populated, expensive cities, I'm sure there's a couple of things we're going to be bonding over in this video. So stay tuned. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. I do a lot of New York City content if you don't already know and you're new here. So yeah, hope you stick around. A lot more apartment related stuff to come. I've got my trusty list of pet peeves here, and they kind of go across the board of what I actually find annoying about New York City apartments themselves, and just kind of the New York City vibe of like apartment blocks and complexes in general. And yeah, let's roll straight into it. Like I mentioned earlier, no matter what New York City apartment you have, you will encounter some odd quirks. For example, the first quirk about this apartment, which I moved into recently on kind of the Bushwick Queens border. I was previously in Manhattan, but this is a brand new building. I'm the first person to live here, okay? And my bedroom doesn't have a ceiling light. It's a brand new building. You literally designed it from the ground up. You built it brand new. It's not like you were working with an old apartment block that was already there for like 140 years. No, like you had the option to put a light in the ceiling like every apartment ever on like 80% of the planet, and you didn't. This apartment ain't cheap either. I will leave my kind of initial empty apartment tour below, and it was one of those things when I was viewing the apartment, he sort of slipped that little fact in there, but I was like, it's gonna be fine, don't worry. And thankfully we do have a lot of daylight and window space, so it hasn't been a huge issue to have a ceiling light, but it just seems like a basic standard like requirement of a bedroom for me. The central heating systems in New York can be a little ratchet. In some of the older apartment buildings that are like, you know, haven't been like crazy renovated or anything like that, sometimes your heating can literally just be like this one long pipe in the corner of your room that goes up through all of the apartments, and you usually only have one, so it'll either be in the bedroom or the kitchen. Like there's no like even dispersal of heat, but you have absolutely zero control over it. You don't get to choose when it's turned on, you don't get to choose when it's turned off. If it's too hot and you're sweating your balls off, well, tough. This one, as somebody that cooks a lot, is something that really gets on my nerves. It really grinds my gears because it's a lazy, cook cornery type situation. So both in my last apartment, which was like a 140-year-old building, and my new apartment, which like I mentioned it's a brand new complex, neither of them had an extractor fan. You know those like vents above your stove or your cooker, and they zap up all of the steam and I guess like, I don't know, like the oil, smoke and all of that stuff. Thank God my apartment didn't have a fire alarm, because it would literally have gone off every time I tried to cook something if that was the case. If you're gonna do up a whole kitchen and put in nice countertops and a nice brand new stove with the intention of cooking, why would you not put an extractor fan in? Like, I feel like if cooking and people not cooking in New York was really the issue, why even bother putting a stove in at all? Bitches be cutting corners, that's all I'm saying. Staying on the kitchen for a second, get used to having zero counter space. In my last apartment, I literally had no counter space at all. I had a tiny little sink that was literally, might as well have been like a bathroom basin. Couldn't even sit a plate, like a regular plate, flat in it. Everything was at an angle. And then I had my stove and zero counter space, zero place to cut vegetables, so I had to buy like a little console table that acted as like another surface space. But it's just kind of like bizarre, like the fact that I literally lived with essentially a kitchenette for 2 years that literally just had the bare minimum, a fridge, a stove, a tiny little sink. Thankfully we've upgraded ourselves to 3 chopping board space worth of counter space in this apartment. Look mom, I made it. Also going to touch on a honorary pet peeve, which is that apartments in general in New York seem to be designed really odd, and I understand that the layouts are kind of old, yada yada, but from my general experience going to my friends' apartments, my own apartments that I've experienced, they're just kind of designed a bit awkward. Yeah, no bother girl, I'll get my vegetables here now, 1 second. Oh no, wait, no wait. There's no room for the drawer to open because the door, they're all clashing. So what's the fish gotta do to get some vegetables around here, huh? I think everyone in a New York apartment spends at least 20% of their day inhaling passive weed scent from other people, you know, enjoying it, which is absolutely fine. I personally actually don't really like the smell of weed that much. I think I would take the weed over cigarette smoke, so yeah, you win some, you lose some. There is pretty much almost no escape from some kind of noise pollution here in New York. It's one of the loudest cities in the whole wide world. If you can hear in the background, everything sounds like it runs on jet fuel. And luckily in my last apartment, I was kind of away from the main road, so I was in a really actual peaceful part of the neighborhood. There was still kind of no escape because especially when I was filming, I would notice just this incessant helicopter situation. They fly really, really low to the buildings in the Upper East Side, use helicopters and tour helicopters, and they're just so loud. It literally sounds like rolling thunder. And when you live in a city in New York where, you know, it's had terrorist attacks, there's been times where I've literally had my heart in my chest because I've heard something slightly unusual. Since I moved to Queens, there's definitely not as many helicopters, but there is so many cars. I thought that this area would be kind of quiet. It didn't look like a main street as such, but there's a lot of buses that come up and down this cross street, a lot of cars. Everyone loves to honk all day long, play their music loud out of their car all day long. I don't really mind the music so much, it only bothers me when I'm trying to film. I can't complain though. Every time I go back to Ireland, I'm all the more grateful for the silence. I feel like back in Europe, you know, it is what it is. A small apartment is just a small apartment, but in New York, people get crafty and they turn hallways into railroad bedrooms and, you know, create these paper thin temporary walls to make a one-bedroom studio into a 3-bedroom. But you know, if you're stuck on cash, you may be inclined and tempted. New York City apartment views. Luckily I have been blessed with slightly better views in this apartment, but it is not uncommon to have, you know, a view of a brick wall, a beautiful brick wall, or an alleyway, or hell, even no view at all in a basement apartment. Yeah, the light situation in New York apartments can be very, very tough, and the only view that I had was pretty much everyone else. I felt like sometimes I was living in their apartment. At one point, there was a guy living across from me. And here's one thing I love about New York actually. Eventually, both of us just stopped giving a shit. There was just like this mutual unspoken, yeah, look, if you're walking around in your underwear, I won't look, it's fine. Yeah, and yeah, that's fine until you have guests over and his girlfriend is literally doing the dishes with no bra on, just having them. You know, they were just flying in all directions as she was getting down to it. Definitely saw his bare ass on a midnight fridge run as well. But hey ho, I'd rather be comfortable with my neighbours. Another one, oh my god, the fact that doing laundry in New York is such a big hassle. Like at home, in a house, or even in just regular apartments, you take for granted so much just having like a washer in your apartment. Like even the smallest apartments in London, I feel like will still always have a washing machine. It's just that standard of living thing that very, very, very little places won't have your own personal washer. I would say at least 50% of the apartments in New York, you're gonna have to, you know, get your trolley and wheel your dirty knickers down to the laundrette and pray that they don't fall out and pray that you don't trip, because that's definitely happened to people I know. So the fact I've only had to go to a laundromat maybe twice in my life, I'm thankful for, but it's still a pain in the ass dragging your laundry up and down, especially when I lived 5 flights up in my old apartment. So basically the day that you decide to do your laundry in my old apartment was a full-on Stairmaster workout. I know it's normal and not that big a deal for a lot of people, but I feel like when you're paying so much rent, like you're paying thousands every month to, you know, live in this city, you think like having your own washing machine just wouldn't be that big of a deal. At last, we come to my last pet peeve. New York City plugs, oh my god. Why do you space the outlets so close together when literally every American plug on earth is a different shape? For example, this extension cord, can you see all of the outlets here? And you're like, oh, it's all good, you know, there's 4 outlets, I'll be able to plug in 4 things. No, you might get 2 if you're lucky. Everything is a different shape. Some plugs have this 3-prong, some plugs only have the 2-prong style, like at the bottom. America, just pick one, okay? Just pick one uniform style. Thanks for tuning in for this video, guys. As always, it's just a bit of fun, so don't take anything I said too personally or too to heart. If you want to see more of my vlogs or more of my New York City apartment related videos, like my moving vlogs and my apartment tours, I will leave some of my favorites down below in the description for you guys to check out. If you're new, I hope you subscribe, and if you're oldie, hello, I'll see you guys down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.